This is WrestleWolf. I am Damian Gibson, and joining me, I think we could safely say, as always now, is the mystery, the enigma. It's Matthew.
I feel like I've been called up, and it's like that. I used to have a surname, and they're like, "Nah, you're just Matt now. Sorry,
It's a very WWE trope.
it's actually my surname." So anyway, that's not a good joke because anyway, let's cut that.
It took me a couple of seconds to get it. I was
Anyway,
like, oh, right. But anyway, we're not here to talk about WWE or a sloppy shop, as we'll get to later on in the program.
mm,
We're here to talk about part one, AEW Fighter Fest 2020 Part 1.
and I've decided that I would, if my name's just going to be Matt, that I'm going to go by Rock Hard Matt, which is
We need to run these things past each other before before we just announce them on the podcast.
it's
Uh,
the most confronting nickname I've ever heard. And already I know I'm skipping ahead quite a lot here, but my god. Just as a bit of sizzle for later.
hmm Yeah, no. I just for clarity for the audience, I was with my job. I'm working from home, and we're in lockdown. Well, I'm in lockdown. Matthew is lucky enough to live in an area of Melbourne that isn't locked down, but there's a whole other thing. Um, and usually the sort of last, I really hope no one from my work listens to this, but usually the last couple of hours of the day, I can at least have the wrestling on in the background and get a fairly good idea of what was happening. And for some reason, today we were just super busy at a time where we're not. So I have watched it and I do know what happened, but there might be a few instances where I'm like, what happened? So you might have to fill in those gaps for me. I'm sorry, man.
That's okay. I'm more than willing to do that.
All right. Well, let's get to the start of the show. So we started off with, well, actually, we started off with Chris Jericho coming out and getting his own entrance for commentary, wearing the most amazing Canada Day blazer I've ever seen in my life.
And you
I
are an
feel like,
aficionado of Canada Day Blazers, so that really is saying
well,
something.
I did work. I did work at Melbourne's premier poutine restaurant for almost 2 years. So
Oh.
yeah, I know a little bit about Canada. And when I say a little bit, like actually a little bit, not much at all. Like we had two Canada days. I don't even know what it's on the 1st of July. Is that right?
Uh, yes.
Anyway, Jericho he hit the commentary hot, man. He
He
was really into it.
he was by far the best commentator there. As he always is when he does it. And really, it
Mm.
should just be him and Excalibur doing it when he does it because it's just fantastic.
Yeah, and I feel like Jericho's fishing for that because he keeps, like, Schiavone and or Schiavone and JR, they're big enough and old enough to know how to hold their own with someone like Jericho, and like they've worked with Jerry and Bobby the Brain and people like that.
Hmm.
It feels like when Jericho sort of comes out hot like that, the Excalibur gets quite quiet, and you can hear Jericho sort of trying to drag him back into
Yeah, that's a good
the
point.
the limelight. Like, look at your stupid mask, Excalibur, like all that kind of pantomime heel stuff. But like, I feel like for me, it's building a relationship between the two of them of like, Jericho, for whatever reason, probably because he's a good guy, doesn't like Excalibur.
Yeah, I just think it's fantastic. I think like when he's on commentary, he hits the perfect sort of line between putting over people, being entertaining. He's actually funny and not wrestling funny, which I think we've talked about before, where like,
Yeah.
wrestling funny can often be enormously embarrassing, and like the bits where you're like, oh my god, if anyone I know sees this, they're going to be like, I respect this Matt less for watching wrestling.
Yeah, I know, right? There's when you have that feeling on your own, it's you. It's the loneliest. It's the lonely. Why can't I say loneliest? Oh, I just said it.
There you go.
Uh, it's been a long day. I've got to struggle to speak. Anyway, kicking off the show tonight, we had Jurassic Express, which is Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, for anyone who doesn't know, with Marco Stunt versus MJF and Wardlow in a sort of continuing storyline. They seem to be sort of having these two teams question mark
Mm.
go at each other, which I think will eventually turn into a longer Jungle Boy MJF feud. This match I quite enjoyed, but the parts that I most enjoyed were Luchasaurus and Wardlow for the second week in a row.
Yeah, I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed watching them just go at it. Like I thought the match itself was sort of, it was a really good opening match.
Hmm.
I thought any opportunity for MJF to speak is good, and
Yeah.
like that really made the match for me. Like the opening promo, I thought Jungle Boy was fantastic. But yeah, I think
Hmm.
just Wardlow and Luchasaurus are legitimately big human beings, and AEW is not really built around legitimately big human beings.
No.
So I think watching them just hit each other sort of like was cathartic.
What did you think of MJF's green velvet dressing gown?
Loved it.
Yeah, me too.
Velvet. I mean, Velvet. I have a different opinion about something Velvet later in the show, but I thought it was great. I
Okay.
thought it was really good.
Yeah, they really went hard on it. Like Jericho and JR, like they really were like, that's the most hideous thing I've ever seen. Like, I think Jericho was like worst ring attire, best promo I've seen in a while. Like, okay, that's pretty harsh. Um, we had spots here where all four guys were knocked out at the same time. A lot of sort of, you know, double clotheslines and things like that to really sort of accentuate a real sort of knockdown, drag them out kind of match. But I didn't get that 100% from it. Like you say, like I think it was a good match, but I didn't really pick up what they were putting down, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yes, it absolutely does.
But I feel like we're going to get more of this. I don't know if I'm not into it. I think I would be into a Jungle Boy MJF. I don't know. I don't know. Tony Khan hasn't really let me down in a year, so
You got to
yeah,
you got to trust
I
him
trust
until
him.
yeah.
Yeah. We had a bit of a scuffle between the bad boy. I feel like Joey Janela should just drop that
Oh
moniker.
please, it's
The
so creepy. It makes you feel so like I don't know. It makes me feel uncomfortable when he says it.
Yeah, because I feel like bad boy is only ever said in a sexual.
It's
You
got
know what I mean?
it's got the
Like
STDs about it, and Joey Janela has the STDs about him. So like,
he does kind of look like a walking STD.
how
I
many
mean,
people?
I really like him, but that's if if you had broken up with a girl and then she slept with someone like Joey Janela and then was like, "Oh, I have chlamydia," you wouldn't be surprised, you know.
And if we named these episodes, we would have the name for the episode.
What walking STD?
That's right.
Yeah, right. Anyway, that was to basically sort of, just remind you that there's two halves to this pay per view. And next week, they'll be fighting at Dynamite Fighter Fest Night 2. Um, I don't know. Are we into this? This is. I, I, I don't have anything really negative to say about tonight, but I wasn't also blown away by a lot
Yeah, that's
either.
exactly how I felt. I was like, I thought that they, particularly in the context of going up against the Great American Bash, I guess.
Mm.
I was
Well,
surprised.
yeah, sure.
I'm not going to let them desecrate WCW. But
No.
it was whelming. It wasn't under or overwhelming. It was just whelming.
Hmm. Hmm. And that's a word that doesn't get used enough.
Well, I don't think it even
Um,
means what I used in the context it means. So.
well, it does now. We'll just fit it into the wrestling lexicon somehow.
Excellent.
Um, Next up, we had the AEW's World Championship match of Hikaru Shida. I love saying that. I don't know if you guys have noticed. Defending against the super bad girl, Penelope Ford, with super bad Kip Sabian. Um, Everyone's got to have a nickname. No one's just. This is AEW, the complete opposite of WWE. That everyone's name, has like 7 parts to it, and then over at the competition, it's just like here, it's Chris.
Look out, because John's coming for
Yeah,
you.
John's coming down. um, what happened in this match? For me, it felt like another big push for Penelope Ford. In the sense of like, hey, like Hikaru Shida is like, she's a fighting champion, and she was not just good here; she was good in Japan. But Penelope Ford is like pretty good.
I
Um,
um I think
that's what I felt like the story was of this match.
I think last week I said that I wasn't that into Penelope Ford's wrestling, and I want to be very clear about the wrestling part of that.
Yeah.
But I thought this should have been the main event. I think this like absolutely over delivered. I enjoyed it massively, and Penelope
Hmm.
Ford sold that running knee like she was Kenny Omega. Like it
Yeah.
looked so brutal. Um, it was awesome. I really enjoyed this match.
Yeah. So did I. I actually would probably put it as the match of the night.
Yep.
Um, for pure wrestling. And Penelope Ford's, I don't know what it's called. I don't want to call it Matrix swerve, but I can't think of anything else. The only other person I've ever seen do that is Liv Morgan, and at the competition. That sort of like, what would you call it? Like turn yourself into a human workbench.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it's called. It's yeah.
It's essentially what Neo does. It's what
It
Keanu Reeves does in The Matrix. There's no, but in real life.
mm.
Um, that really got like I was really enjoying the match, but when that happened, because Penelope Ford stood there for a bit, and I was like, oh god, that looks really bad. Like she was standing in the ring, just watching Hikaru like climb up the rope slowly. Like, why would you just stand? Like in my head, I'm like, why would you just stand there like that?
Mm.
And then she did that, and I was like, oh well, that's why she would do that, because it gave her a competitive advantage in the match. It actually, I love that. I really love that.
Mm.
Um, but Sheeta wins, and I don't have any problem with any of this. Like I think it makes Sheeta look stronger because she beat a really strong opponent. Penelope Ford has moved into the top bracket of uh, talent in the women's division.
Mm.
You know, and you got a couple of Kip Sabian moments, wacky Kip Sabian moments,
And you could sort of
which I'm sure you would have been happy
oh,
with.
I was absolutely stoked. But I think once Britt Baker beats Sheeta, which I think probably is going to happen at some point after the big
Hmm,
swell thing's done, after the injury and the big swell thing is done. Um,
yeah.
like Britt Baker is a sort of anti-hero versus Penelope Ford as this sort of really arrogant, sort of shitty person who thinks they're super bad. Um, is cool. Like that would be a cool
Yeah.
match. I don't know if they need someone else in there to sort of do the sort of harder work. Because obviously,
Yeah, maybe.
but maybe not. Like I think not every match has to be a 5-star Tokyo Dome classic.
No, but I think Penelope Ford showed that she's capable
Yeah, she's
this
good.
evening,
She's good,
on a
man.
big stage. So, um, yeah, I like her. I don't know if you noticed, and I'm not going to get on my JR soapbox today. I'm not. I'm really not. I've got more important things to worry about than JR's pervometer. But I just thought, like, on the pervometer, we've got to a 2.5 in the video package beforehand, where they were talking up, they're talking up Sheeta, and then it cuts to JR, and he's like, she catches your eye, and not just because she's a beautiful woman. It's like, oh, god damn it! Like, I know that's not the worst thing he said about Penelope, but it's also like his face, moves in a way when he says stuff about Penelope Ford where I'm like, ugh.
It's none of it's good. I don't even
No,
want to talk
it
about it.
makes me feel so dirty, even just like repeating it.
Yeah, I
Um,
can't imagine. Like I can't imagine that it would make her feel very comfortable.
no. I mean, in all joking aside, like it's gross, and we could you could almost take the bad boy moniker off Joey Janela and give it to Jim Ross, and it would make more sense to me. You know what I
If
mean?
Jim Ross
Like,
was playing a 70-year-old old wrestling lech called the Bad Boy Jim Ross, it might actually save him.
we talked about this. Was it last week or the week before? I can't remember. But he needs to be turned heel.
Mm,
Need to have a heel commentator like Eric Bischoff, NWO
mm.
kind of thing, and get him to join the inner circle and have him do stuff with Jericho. It'd be
That
great.
would be so good. This is my eventual goal is that the inner circle splits off into two separate groups, and there's the inner circle B team, and then then the inner circle, and then there's the inner circle wolf pack, and like it's just anyway.
I was just about to say that. I was just about to say inner circle black and white and inner circle wolfpack. Next up, we had, and I feel like this is where the majority of the strong opinion is going to come from. We had the AEW TNT Championship match with the American Nightmare Cody, with Arn Anderson defending against the Inner Circle's Jake Hager with Catalina Mixer Hager.
Please let me correct you. The inner circle's rock hard Jake Hager.
The floor is yours, Matthew.
I can't believe that this is the nickname. I'm not going to go into it because I don't need to. It is objectively bad, much like everything else to do with Jake Hager, including this match and this finish,
Yeah.
and the idea that it might lead to more. And like, I'm totally cool with Cody turning heel and being this entitled little shit. I'm
Mm.
not cool with it, like turning Jake Hager into a face at the same time. Please, not rock hard Jake
No.
Hager.
No, absolutely not. I think the only saving grace with this is him knocking out the referee at the end of the match will mean that he will get suspended, right?
Oh my god, please. I just like
Surely.
I just want him to be gone. Like I need him to be not there.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. When he came out to the ring this evening, there was a moment where he came out and did that sort of, you know, arm spread eagle and bounce off the rope sort of thing that most wrestlers do now. And I just found myself having the exact same feelings that I was having when he was in the sort of United States title picture at the competition like 5-6 years ago.
Mm.
And it always seemed to be him versus Alberto Del Rio. And whenever that happened, that's when I went and made a toasty,
Mm.
or like and I was with Hager so far. His role in the inner circle. I kind of quite enjoyed it, but it is that thing of like, as soon as he gets out in the ring, it's dull.
No more Jake Hager matches. He's not Kurt Angle. Like, yes, he may be a great amateur wrestler and a fine junior UFC, whatever it's called.
Yeah,
Like, it's just enough of him.
fighting guy. He's a fighting
Yeah,
guy.
enough of him wrestling matches, please. Because like, I didn't want to watch this, and like, I like Cody.
Mm.
I just didn't want to watch it.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you, man. This was the pretty much the low point of the card for me as far as actual wrestling was concerned. I did kind of enjoy Arn getting his nose in a little bit.
Yeah,
Um, doing a bit more sort of managerial, like 80s managerial, like look over there, or sort of stuff. Um, but that was the only highlight in a really, really dull 10 minutes or so.
yeah. It's like Cody. You can tell like he's obviously really really good in the ring because like he was doing all kinds of things that I was like, oh, I'm interested in what Cody's doing. But
Yeah.
then I saw who he was doing it against, and I was like, I don't care. Just let it be over.
I know, right? It's and this is where, it's matches like this where you see, the WWE fanboys who just, talk about AEW being like the fourth WWE show,
Hmm.
like as a smart ass comment. And you watch a match like this and you're like, oh, you know, like, yeah. Like I mean, I'm not saying it's like main event level match. It was better than that,
Hmm.
but um yeah, I think maybe Cody's pyro was the thing that I enjoyed the most.
Well, I think like Cody's probably the most dependable sort of big match wrestler in either major promotion to have like
Oh,
an
for sure. Yeah.
emotional,
Yeah.
interesting, and this just wasn't that. This was sort of out of nowhere. The build up sucked. It sucked. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, this felt like it was on it felt like it was on the competition.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this felt like halfway through the second hour of Raw kind of match where you're like, oh god, how long have I been watching this for?
Mm,
And I haven't had that feeling very often with AEW, so it's definitely a Jake Hager problem.
yeah, agreed.
So next up, we had the new Stone Cold Steve Austin, Orange Cassidy, come out onto the stage, and and I'm just going to keep pushing Orange Cassidy to see how far I get before you break and go. Oh, come on, man! Um,
Like
he brought his
when Jesus returned surprisingly and sat on the stage staring at Chris Jericho. Uh,
well, that's pretty much where I'm at with Orange Cassidy. I love him more and more every week. I didn't even think it was possible. I loved how he had the blood on his shirt from the week before, just to show how much of a hard man he is. And this was the kind of stuff that I was excited about with an Orange Cassidy Jericho program,
mm,
where Cassidy didn't. He's playing his part really well, but it was all Chris. Like just constantly like, yeah, you're so freaking me out at all. What, are you going to come over in here and try and play mind games with me? Well, that's not going to work. That's not working at all. I'm not worried about you at all. Kind of stuff.
and just watching Jericho, yeah, freak out the way he did was fantastic.
Yeah, and the separation later on, where like Orange Cassidy kicking the chair over so nonchalantly, getting Jericho so worked up, like that made me laugh. And then the immediate like 10 people who came down, and 9 of them went to Chris Jericho, and then Pineapple Pete kind of just put his hand on Orange Cassidy's shoulder. That made me laugh.
That was
And then yeah, and all of this was great, man. And then Jericho just like screaming, just like a banshee, like, I want you, Cassidy, I want you. Just so over the top, so ridiculous, just perfect. It got me back into the swing of things because I
mm.
was so like blah after the you know after the Hager bomb that we were hit with the in the match before, that this really was like, oh yeah, this is why I love this company, and loved it, and I can't wait to see more of it
Yes.
next week. Um, I'll be interested to see what you think about the next match because, well, it was interesting. I think the next match was Private Party, which is Mark Quinn and Isaiah Cassidy, accompanied by Matt Hardy, versus Santana and Ortiz, of course, of the Inner Circle. Um, you sent me a message. Well, I assume you were watching it this morning about Matt Hardy Do you want to tell me?
dressing
Yeah,
like Michael Hayes dressed when it
yeah,
just it looks uncomfortable to see a 40-year-old man in a velvet like tight shirt and a studded leather
yeah.
belt and like raver pants. And
I
like
know.
you you obviously suggested that was the point and it was a reference, which means I got the reference.
Yeah. No, well, I wasn't being a smartass. I just because they had mentioned it on commentary a couple of times. That's all I meant. That
Mm.
they'd sort of gone, oh, Matt Hardy had been. I don't think they mentioned Michael Hayes' name, but they definitely were insinuating, that Matt Hardy was doing what Michael Hayes had done for him and Jeff.
Okay, I must have completely missed that. I thought like the match itself was pretty good.
Yeah,
Private Party are really good.
yeah, they are.
Their new song is so much better than the "This is a private party and you are all invited" song. That
One
song
hundred
was
percent.
that song sucked so much.
Where do we think? That sounded so passive aggressive and work meeting. Where do we think? You know, um, what do you think is going on with Santana and Ortiz as far as just where they're at in the zeitgeist of the average AEW fan? Do you think they're seen as like, because the inner circle's fallen apart a little bit because of Sammy not being around, and
Mm.
everyone's sort of got their own feud happening at the moment. Do you think, do you see them as being like top guys in that division at some point?
No, I guess I don't.
Yeah, me either. And I was kind of hit by that watching this match, where I was like, these guys are good, they're solid. I don't dislike them. I like them. Like when they appear, I'm like, oh, cool. Um, but I don't see them. I don't see them taking over the tag team division, or even one of them going off and being a single star. You know.
Yeah, I felt very similarly, and I never doubted that Private Party were going to win,
Hmm.
which is
Yeah.
not a great sign.
Yeah. Well, I think this. I don't know what this storyline is. I assume that somehow it'll wind its way to Matt Hardy and Jericho
Yes, I'd imagine so.
at some point, but I don't see that happening anytime soon, especially when Cassidy and Jericho is just liquid gold. Like,
Yeah,
why you would stop that, program anytime soon. So it kind of leaves everyone else floundering a little bit, I think, especially Santana and Ortiz through no real fault of their own, you know.
yeah, absolutely.
Um, but I don't really have much to say about this match.
No, either
I
do I.
assume,
It's sort of I
yeah,
actually forgot it. I didn't take notes this time, and I forgot it happened.
yeah,
I
but
thought you were
that's
skipping over my favorite part of the show um, to get to the main event. So yeah, that's not a good sign.
what was your favorite part of the show?
Uh, Taz and Brian Cage.
Oh no, that's I've got that
Yeah,
next.
that's exactly. That's I
Yeah.
thought you were skipping that part, and I was like, hold on.
No, 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 not at all. I wouldn't. Look, we've got to get you 5 minutes of you doing your Taz type promo about how Brian Cage is going to rip John Moxley to shreds.
Well, Taz said it best. The only note I did take was
Yeah,
Taz threatening that. So we're officially moving on from Private Party,
yeah, 100%.
right? Uh, Taz saying that Cage will beat your brains in and take that championship from your dumb ass. I was like, fantastic, because like when he came out and cut the particular promo, I'm like, ooh, I don't know if like bringing like coronavirus into and like John Moxley being a little bit sensible about it. Which
Mm,
also, to be fair, doesn't like I know that like everyone knows that obviously his wife has coronavirus and making up some oh well John Moxley hurt his back when Brian Cage threw him into the car or whatever. But also like given John Moxley's character is like, oh, I started to like him when he threw me into a car and like, being all anarchy and stuff. And it's like, but he's just really concerned about public health as well. Like it doesn't quite fit the character. And Taz is the heel, I guess, for some people, for idiots. Taz is the heel. And so, like him talking,
it's very obvious that Taz and Brian Cage are the heels, man.
No, they're not. They're as I was sitting there, and I'm like, it was uncomfortable for me to see what is obviously, a big baby face, talking about someone being cautious about COVID-19. But then,
yeah,
like we don't run a sloppy shop, all that kind of stuff, and saying
so
that
good.
Moxley does you've been tested twice, you don't have coronavirus, you've just got a case of the chicken shits. Like,
yeah,
it was great. Spectacular. And also I think it was beforehand the Taz explanation of Moxley's finisher and saying that he won't be able to do it to Brian Cage because his neck muscles.
Oh yes, no, I have actually made a note of that. Of like, essentially, hey, Brian Cage is so roided up, you're not going to be able to do your finisher on this man because he's too big. He's too abnormally big that you won't be able to wrestle him. Like you just won't.
They've got to let Brian Cage just kill Moxley. They've got
to. Look, I'm starting to come round to your way of thinking because I think it would be more fun.
Well,
but also like he's like their big, like just from a business standpoint, he's like their big signing, right? Like it would be brave booking. I don't think Moxley would probably have any problems with it as long as there was a plan, but it would be brave booking from them to take, you know what I mean, to take the belt off Moxley, who all of wrestling knows, to put it on Brian Cage, where, not to be disrespectful to Impact or anything like that, but a much smaller percentage of eyeballs are aware of him,
But you can still have John Moxley as in a high profile feud on the poster of every pay-per-view. You're not selling tickets at the moment. The idea of an actual ratings war is not real, particularly because they're backed by the Khans, who I believe are paying for the spot, and that money's not going to run out anytime soon. And I get the feeling that Tony Khan will run this if 50,000 people are watching, or less.
Yeah,
maybe 50 people. John Moxley can go off and have an intensely personal feud with someone, which he hasn't done since that Twitter feud with Mick Foley, where then it had to peter out because Mick Foley was so incredibly and obviously to any sensible person never going to wrestle again, but Mick Foley had to actually go to a doctor, and the doctor was like, what? No.
Wait, sorry, what did you ask me? To wrestle again?
You can't walk.
Michael Foley, my friend. That is not happening.
The man who can't spend a whole bunch of time on his computer due to concussions.
Yeah, I know.
It's because Mick Foley's the best of the best, but
no, I love Mick, and but there are weird side effects. Like he is so obsessed with Christmas that his house is literally decked out in Christmas decorations all year round.
Yeah, I would actually put that's definitely something of an adult man who got hit a lot in the head. I would put Mick as probably my second favorite wrestler of all time, under Brian Cage, who I think is obvious.
I walked straight into that. I was literally going to be like, "Oh, who are you going to say? Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels?"
Well, that's why people have those Cage. People have the Mount Rushmore of wrestling, and I have Stone Cold, The Rock, Hulk Hogan, and Brian Cage.
Yeah, of course, makes total sense.
Yes, that's right. I wouldn't actually have Hulk Hogan on mine just due to the It's not.
Well, he's no Bret. Anyway, we'll Bret Hart has to be on there. He just has to be.
Bret Hart's there, and
Um,
Shawn Michaels has to be there, but I don't know.
but like behind Bret with a face on him, like he's scheming.
I want old man bald Shawn Michaels.
With a lazy eye.
Yeah, what I want is there to be like one wrestling Rushmore and then a slightly smaller wrestling Rushmore that no one's really like, that people think is like it's carved way better, but it's just a bit
Yeah.
less impressive. Like it's just like you're just like, oh yeah, okay. And like that's Shawn Michaels where you're like, oh, he's doing another promo about like pointing at his dick. Great. Sorry,
He's six. No. I agree with everything you're saying. You're 60 years old, Sean,
I
and you know what, Hunter and Road Dog. This goes for you as well.
I mean, I just
You,
recently watched an old SmackDown in which I think it must have been just before the Undertaker Triple H WrestleMania, one of them, and the Undertaker does his like slitting throat, and Triple H does his like suck it thing, and then like they were going off the air, and Michael Cole goes, "Is that what's in the future for one of these men?" And I'm like, "Ooh, I reckon he didn't think that one out." Like either Triple H is going to die or the under. Okay, sorry, we've gotten way off the path.
no, but I think that's what I think people are here just as much for the tangents as they are for the results.
And you're going to cut this anyway, so
no.
good.
So next up, we had the main event of the evening, which was the tag team champs Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page defending their belts. Hangman Adam Page defending their belts against the best friends Chuck Taylor and Trent. Now, before we get into this, I just want to say that Trent's mum Sue dropping off the best friends in her like Tarago minivan, and then making Trent come back and give her a kiss on the cheek, and then saying "I love you," and then Trent going "I love you too, mum," and then him turning around and waving as she drove back out of the car park. Might be my favorite wrestling moment of the year.
Well, this is the thing. I watched that and I'm like, this is incredible. And has AEW been doing like people driving to the arena in trucks just to pay it off with this? Is this why like every single wrestler seems to own some variation of the same truck? That like you can be like, hey, it's me, the Butcher and Blade.
Hey, it's me, the Butcher and the Blade.
Or like Cody's there and he like drives slightly up to the ring, then gets out of his car and runs at them, and like FTR have a truck. Like
Yeah, they do. They all have their own little like wrestler mobiles. It's hilarious.
And like if that's the payoff, that's just wonderful.
Yeah, I feel like this is why. Well, this is what I love about Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends. Like, there is, it's just it's so dumb. Like but they just don't take themselves seriously. They're everything that Jim Cornette hates about AEW and indie wrestling. Like they're constantly like winking at the camera and like like nudge nudge wink wink. Isn't this funny sort of thing? And like I don't want that in every match, but if there's one team that does that, if there's one group of wrestlers that do that, I'm down.
Absolutely.
And this was a great example of it. Like it's just fun. Things are shit. The world is really shit right now.
Mhm.
And so like for me to laugh at something on TV, that's really nice. So I appreciate the Best Friends doing that today.
Agreed. I thought it was fantastic.
I feel like this match kind of suffered a little bit from the opening match, where it was really being shoved down your throat of like, this is a big time match and these guys are going to go really hard. And I'm not saying that they didn't, and I'm not saying that it wasn't a good match, but it just, again, I don't know, there was just something like towards the end of the match, I got sort of suckered into it and was really like, oh, best friends might win here. But I think it was, for me, it was the overall or the sort of impending feeling that Hangman
Mm.
and Kenny were going to win.
Yeah, absolutely. And I sort of hoped at one point, I was like, oh, hopefully they take the titles off them. I don't. I think that there's a chance that, like, remember when AJ Styles went to the WWE and it was like AJ
Yeah.
Styles best wrestler in the world, and then he just didn't have a great match ever again.
Yeah.
And I think,
Oh, that's not bad
well,
again.
like the obviously, like, the graveyard match, all that kind of stuff is like all good and well, but like I think, like, as like having a great match, the guy was unbelievable for a period there, and like he just hasn't been at that level.
Yeah.
And like
I take your point.
and like maybe it's gone.
Besides the occasional Finn Balor or Daniel Bryan match,
Yeah,
I understand what you're saying.
but like maybe Kenny Omega's hit that age where it's like it's gone. Like he had his really incredible run in New Japan, and now he's enjoyable, but it's just a bit
Mm,
like, I don't know, his style. I don't know. I don't. I haven't loved watching him, and like I've enjoyed the match. Like, the Moxley matches were really really good.
yeah.
He's never bad. Um, but I don't know. It just seems like he's missing that best bout machine.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Whereas Hangman
Um,
is an absolute fucking star.
yeah, he really is. He really is. I was genuinely disappointed that Best Friends didn't win this.
Mm.
I did sort of have a feeling that maybe, on the back of Orange Cassidy getting over and them being a little team, that maybe you put the belts on Best Friends and,
Yeah.
you know, um, and I just, and I'm ready for the Hangman Omega
Yes.
feud,
Yeah.
right? Like
Well, this is
I'm
Kenny's
pretty hungry
opportunity.
for that.
This is Kenny's opportunity to really, like, make a star out of Hangman.
Yeah,
And yeah, I thought AEW, the one thing they don't do very well is once someone loses at their championship opportunity, sort of following up with that. Like, I think, Lance Archer's just like sort
yeah.
of barely there, barely relevant. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone great.
Brody
Oh, Brody
Lee
Lee, yeah.
is probably another example. Yeah,
They just sort of they appear and then disappear, um, or just lose sort of momentum or like what they're actually trying to do.
yeah.
And I hope that doesn't happen to Best Friends.
No, me either. I don't think so. I think they've probably got. There seems to be enough creativity within that little triangle of dudes to keep them relevant, and people love them as well. And I think that's probably the reason why we haven't got Omega and Hangman yet, because they want to save that for crowds. But
Yeah,
at some point, you're going to have to start pulling the trigger on some of these things because we don't know how long this is going to go on. Like if you keep putting something off, it could be a year and a half, 2 years before you've got full stadiums of people. You know what I mean? Like, I mean
yeah.
that might be being drastic, but I'm just saying, like it. Anyway, I really wanted the Best Friends to win, and I'm trying to justify it by by talking myself around it. So we had them win earlier in the night. Excuse me, FTR. A lot of people bringing their own chairs out to the stage
It's
tonight as
very sort
well.
of Christopher Nolan style thing.
Yeah. So I liked FTR's little touch of having the like beach chairs or whatever they're called, like well, beach chairs, right?
Yep.
Um, and they brought some beers out, which came into play here because they came down with a couple of spare beers to give to Paige and Omega for winning, to congratulate them. Now, this is where things got a little bit weird for me. I don't know whether you felt the same way. So they handed the beers. Hangman takes the beer and
Mm.
it's like, thanks very much, which makes sense, right? And Kenny Omega is like, who doesn't drink, as far as I'm aware.
Yes, I think that's right.
Like he's tentative about taking the beer, then he has a tiny sip, and then just pours it out, which is a sign of really like an ultimate disrespect, apparently. Um, FTR get really angry. Somehow the Young Bucks have a spidey sense about this because they're halfway to the ring before, like, just as FTR are getting angry about this, and then they break up a possible fight um, for some reason. And then they kind of split off into threes. So Hangman's kind of on the side of FTR, and then you've got the Elite
Mm.
sort of facing off. Which, don't get me wrong, because I did send you a message during the week saying it's happening, it's happening. The Four Horsemen are happening. This is not a drill, which seemed to tickle you quite a bit. And I feel like maybe Hangman Page is the fourth member of the Horsemen.
So you're saying Cody, FTR, and Hangman.
Hangman Page.
Hangman Page.
Hangman's Page, sorry, I keep mispronouncing that.
That would be sick. That would be really cool.
It would be pretty rad. What did you think of this little bit at the end? I thought it was a bit messy.
I just see them break. Yeah, I didn't. I don't know. Like, you don't need to do any more to show that there are tensions between Kenny and Hangman, and like, it was just a bit of a weird. Like, the whole thing was weird. Like, FTR kind of looked like
Yeah,
enormous knobs. Kenny looked like an enormous knob. The Young Bucks
yeah.
always look like enormous knobs.
That should be their new tag team name.
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't do it for me.
No.
But I did like, overall. I liked the night. And I'm pretty excited about next week.
Yeah, same.
Like, I think Jericho, Orange Cassidy. Let's quickly. Actually, I've got it in front of me. So let's
Okay.
quick. If you're cool with,
Yeah.
tell me if you're interested or not interested in these matches.
Okay.
Chris Jericho versus Orange Cassidy.
I think everyone knows
I,
my feelings on that match. Very interested.
we're aware. So on the scale of 1 to Briain Cage, you're Briain Cage.
Yeah.
Oh, I must annoy people so much. Lance Archer with Jake Roberts in brackets versus Joey Janela.
I like Joey Janela. So there's 50% of this I'm into. And I like Jake the Snake. Lance Archer hasn't done anything for me.
I want to like Lance Archer a lot. That's how I
Yeah.
feel about Lance Archer.
People I respect, people whose opinion I really respect, really like Lance Archer out of Japan. So I haven't completely written him off, but I just haven't seen anything that's really got me
I like that promo where he's just
involved.
like in the bush,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the weird.
true.
But that was more Jake the Snake as well.
Yeah,
Match 3, Nyla Rose with like, you know how she's got this secret coming, and TBA.
yeah.
I'm assuming this secret is Awesome Kong, by the way, but maybe I'm wrong. Are you excited
Ooh.
by Nyla Rose versus TBA?
If it's Awesome Kong, yeah, I'm into that for sure.
Cool.
Uh, if it's just some sort of screwy schmoz thing to fill time, then no.
Yep, I think that's
But
good.
AEW don't really do that much, so
No, they don't.
no.
That's right. Yeah, even like, they try, even if it ends up not being great. Oh
Yeah.
god. The Dark Order, Brody Lee, Stu Grayson, and Colt Cabana versus SoCal Uncensored. Those three.
Um,
You want to
yeah,
like it because of Colt Cabana. I can feel it in you.
yeah, yeah. I really like Colt Cabana a lot. But there's so much else canceling that out. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like my love for Colt Cabana is really strong, and I am kind of interested in this. You know, I don't mind the storyline with the Dark Order, but anything as soon as you mention so like SCU, I'm out.
Mm.
Yeah, no. No, I'm not that interested.
I will watch that match. That's what I have to say about
Yeah,
it. Maybe not very
I'm
closely.
hoping to be pleasantly surprised, but I don't think I will be.
I don't feel that I really need to ask this one. FTR and the Young Bucks versus Butcher and the. It's us, Butcher and the Blade, and Lucha Brothers.
It's us, Butcher and the Blade,
And Lucha
um,
Brothers.
and
which
Lucha Brothers.
which is
Uh,
please give them new music that opens with that.
well, it's us, Butcher and the Blade. Um,
It's like Road Dogs, but better.
yeah, I know, right? Yeah, man. Not to shit on Butcher and the Blade, which we do a lot since last week, but it does very much feel like that old Sesame Street thing of like one of these things is not like the other.
Yeah.
Um, there's three tag teams that are like Jesus, like maybe the three best tag teams in the world. Um, and then us, Butcher and the Blade. Uh, but yeah, I'm really into this. I'm really into it.
Yeah, it'll be good. And
Uh,
finally,
will Butcher and the Blade bring FTR's truck back? That's like, remember that they nicked
oh
the
yeah,
the Lucha Bros and Butcher and the Blade ran off with their van.
well, I don't know. There's so many like trucks and vans in the.
I know you could almost have a truck slash van division.
All I want is a match on top of a stadium with monster trucks. Obviously, that's all I want. I'm pretty sure I've said it
Yeah.
before. It's a key reference for me. Anyway, um, Kenny Omega and Adam Page versus Private Party with Matt Hardy.
Yeah, that'd be a good match.
Yeah, I hope
Yeah,
that Private Party win. Like, if they're given that they've now sown the discontent, if they're going to do another match, like this is a like
yeah,
given they've got 2 hours, it's like I want to see Chris Jericho and Orange Cassidy for half an hour. Lance Archer can go for 5 minutes, that's fine. Nyla Rose can go for 5-10 minutes, that's fine. Dark Order can go for 5-10 minutes. FTR, like the 8-man tag might need 45 minutes. And Kenny Omega
yeah.
versus Private Party probably needs half an hour. So it's going to be a pretty like tight. Something's going to have to schmoz, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's probably where Nyla Rose comes in.
Yeah. Like Lance Archer
Yeah.
might kill Joey Janela in a minute. Like,
No. What's the point of all the promos if all of a sudden you just get Lance Archer to kill Joey Janela?
and we need 6 minutes of Taz and Brian Cage as well.
I just imagine you in a creative meeting. It's like wrapping up, and then you go, guys, I don't see Taz and Brian Cage on here for next week. Surely we're having 10 to 15 minutes of that, right? And then everyone looks around nervously. Uh, yeah, okay. He goes crazy if we don't put Brian Cage on.
Well, it's my
On the
version of The Simpsons. When Brian Cage isn't on the screen, people should be asking, "Where's Brian Cage?"
Oh man, we have fun watching wrestling. We really do.
Yes.
Um, yeah. Look, I am. Look, if I'm being super honest, I was probably a little bit disappointed with the output from AEW tonight. But in their defense, because it had sort of been billed as a pay per view quality
Mm,
event, and if this was a pay per view, we'd only be halfway through it.
yeah.
So, and it feels like they kind of have stacked the card a little bit for next week. So, it's also a shame that Cage and Mox isn't happening because I think that would have,
Gone 5 minutes.
genuinely, without you, without you going, of course, I think a lot of people would have been into watching that. Like that is a bit of a dream match, like Impact, one of Impact's big guys and an ex WWE guy, and both in AEW now. Like, um, And Taz is the best.
He's so good.
I do genuinely need, like, you could quite easily have half an hour of Taz every week, and I'd be fine with that.
Who better than Brian Cage?
All right, well, I think we could probably wrap that up there, man. But yeah, let's hopefully next week is slightly better.
Agreed.
And yeah, we can talk about Brian Cage, Orange Cassidy, and us, Butcher and the Blade. All right, man.
Goodbye.
Bye.